how to pronounce the name of every Chrysos Heir in Honkai Star Rail, and what they mean. And we're getting right into it because Chrysos is actually supposed to be Chrysos, the ancient Greek word for gold. Quick note before we move on to the characters, I'll be using the reconstructed Attic Greek pronunciation system rather than modern Greek. Likewise, I'll be using classical Latin pronunciation rather than ecclesiastical Latin. Given the cultural and linguistic inspirations for Amphoreus, I think this is very logical. Also, Amphoreus is supposed to be Amphoreus, which refers to a type of ancient Greek char. Also, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't played version 3.0 onward. First off, we have Aglaia. Her name means splendor, beauty, adornment, glory, glow, or festive radiance, and it's also the name of the goddess of splendor, brilliance, and brightness in ancient Greek mythology. It's very fitting for her as the demigod of romance, since the romance track in the Amphoreus experiment is meant to simulate the path of beauty. Additionally, the Greek part of Aglaia's name in the Amphoreus code is pronounced as kalos, and it's an adjective that means beautiful or lovely. Again, very fitting. Let's go over that one more time. Her name is pronounced Aglaia, and her code name is pronounced kalos. Next, we have Anaxagoras. This was actually the name of a Greek philosopher back in the 4th century BC. The character in Star Rail actually takes a lot of inspiration from the real-life philosopher. For example, Anaxagoras in the game is quite decidedly impious and irreverent toward the Titans, and Anaxagoras the philosopher was exiled for impiety. Additionally, the latter came up with the concept of nous, or the cosmic mind. The name itself is a compound of the ancient Greek words anax and the genitive form of agora, which together mean Lord of the Assembly. Fun fact, Anaxagoras, the philosopher, was known to challenge traditional beliefs with scientific and rational explanations, just like our skeptical professor in the game. His codename is pronounced as Skemma, which means subject for speculation. One more time. Anaxagoras for his given name and Skemma for his codename. Now we have Castoris, and if you're wondering, Arlecene, why doesn't this one sound weird? Well, that's because it's not actually a word or a name in either ancient Greek or Latin. It is, however, based on the Papilio castor butterfly, the name of which is derived from the Latin name Castor, who in Greek and Roman mythology was a god, and the brother of Pollux. Castoris is the invented feminine form of Castor, though it's already anglicized. The Latin form of Castoris would probably be Castrix, though it could also be Castoria, which is reflected in the Russian version of her name, Castoria. Also, fun fact, Polluxia, her sister, follows the same pattern. In this case, it's the feminine version of Pollux. Her codename is pronounced as Epiekea, an ancient Greek word which means reasonableness or equity or fairness. This is very fitting since her simulated path is that of equilibrium. Next, we have Kerudra. Her name may be derived from the ancient Greek city-state called Kerunea. This city-state is known for being the location of the Kerunean hind, which was a huge deer that was hunted by the Greek hero Heracles, more commonly known as Hercules. He apparently chased it all the way to Hyperborea, the original ancient Greek term of which is Hyperboreos. And guess where Kerudra comes from? That's right, Hyperborea. Additionally, not sure how close this is, but the way her name is formed is kind of reminiscent of Hydra, which is a type of sea serpent or dragon in ancient Greek mythology. Kerudra has wings that kind of look like a dragon. Her codename is pronounced hybris, an ancient Greek word meaning pride, insolence, or outrage. This is also the origin of the English word hubris. Once more, Kerudra and hubris. Quick pause here to explain the letter U, or as it is more commonly known now, upsilon. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using reconstructed Attic Greek pronunciation. This letter in Attic Greek was pronounced as U. It's called the closed front rounded vowel, and it's pronounced like the letter U with umlaut in German, or the letter U in French, or as in the word U in Chinese, or yeah, a lot of languages use this sound, so if you speak any of them, it shouldn't be difficult at all to pronounce the letter U in ancient Greek. Unfortunately, if you don't speak any of the languages that use this sound, then you're gonna have to practice. Also, the letter Y in Latin represents the same sound. Next, we have Cypher. Obviously, this is not her real name. That would be Kyphera. This is from Latin, and it's an alternate form of the word Kyphra, which means numeral or cipher or zero. Note that the letter C is pronounced like a K. This is the case for all instances of the letter C in classical Latin, even those that come before vowels like I or E. The word Kyphra is in turn borrowed from the Arabic word Safar, which means zero, empty, or nothing. Cypher's codename is Orexis, meaning yearning, longing, desire, or appetite. And once more for her name, Kyphera. Now we have Kyrene. She's named after a Thessalian princess in Greek mythology who was a huntress and lover of the god Apollon, more commonly known as Apollo. She's known for killing a lion with her bare hands. She was compared to the goddess Artemis, who apparently gave her 2 hunting dogs. Also, there's a city named after her in North Africa in present-day Libya. Her codename is pronounced Philia, which is a word for love in ancient Greek. And once more for her name, Kyrene. Now, if you're anything like me and want to get the little nuances of pronouncing these names correctly, correctly as they would have been in the original ancient Greek and classical Latin, you will need to understand the concepts of vowel length and pitch accent. So first, vowel length. In these languages, the length of time that a vowel is held changes the word completely. You can actually see this in how there are different letters for what seems to be the same sound in ancient Greek, epsilon and eta, as well as omicron and omega. The difference is that epsilon and omicron are short vowels, and eta and omega are long vowels. In pronunciation, this would sound like e, and this one like e, and this would sound like o, and now this like o. In Latin, you will also sometimes see the short and long vowels differentiated by a line written above the long vowels. That's called a macron, by the way. Now, pitch accent. It's primarily used in ancient Greek. There are three types of accents: the acute, circumflex, and grave. The acute says that we should raise the pitch on the syllable that it is written on. The circumflex represents a falling tone, meaning that we should start high and drop the pitch over the length of the syllable, and the grave doesn't really indicate much. So yes, the way I pronounce the name Aglaia or Anaxagoras, where the pitch rises on certain syllables, is a result of pitch accent. Next we have Danheng as the demigod of Earth. Yes, I know the former Chrysos Heir who held the Earth core flame should be all the way in the letter T section, but Danheng managed to sneak himself in here by virtue of alphabetical order. And to be fair, the Latin title attached to his name is pretty interesting. First, it is pronounced as permansor terrae. The first word is derived from the Latin verb permaneo, which means to stay to the end, to hold out, to last, to continue, to remain, to endure, to abide, to persist, to persevere, to survive, to outlive, to devote one's life to, and to live by. That is a lot of definitions. Permansor is the agent form of permaneo, which refers to one who does the verb. For an English analogy, we have, for example, the verb to write, and the agent form refers to one who writes, therefore a writer. So I would probably translate permansor as endurer. Terrae is the genitive form of terra, which simply means earth. The genitive form of a noun in synthetic and case-heavy languages like Latin generally indicates that this noun possesses another noun. Not always, but this is generally the pattern. So terrae would mean something like of the earth. Putting them together, we would translate permansor terrae as something like endurer of the earth. And now we have Evernight, the third month of the calendar in Amphoreus. Obviously, since this name is in English, we can infer that it refers to an eternal night. Interestingly, we've already discussed the other two bearers of the core flame of time, one being Kyrene and the other being us, the trailblazer. And now we have the demigod of the sky, Hyacinthia. Her name is related to the hyacinth flower, which is featured in her outfit quite prominently. Additionally, her name could derive from the ancient Greek hero Hyacinthos, for whom the flower was named. Interestingly, there was a Spartan festival called Hyacinthia, where they honored the hero Hyacinthos. This festival took place in the early summer, which in Greece would be in the month of June. And guess what? The 6th month of the calendar of Amphoreus, which is the month of Everday, corresponding to the month of June, is dedicated to the titan Aquila, the titan of the sky, whose core flame now belongs to Hyacinthia. Her code name is pronounced Eleos and means pity, mercy, or compassion, and additionally was the name of the personification of compassion in ancient Athens. It's honestly very fitting for a pink-haired healer. And one more time, Hyacinthia. Also, I think her nickname is actually just pronounced as Hyacinth since it's an anglicized form of her real name. Next we have Electra, or Hysilens. The latter doesn't actually sound like a native ancient Greek name, but that's how it would look if it were. More on that later. Let's talk about Electra first. This is most likely based on the character Electra from Greek mythology. She was the daughter of the king Agamemnon, who was killed by his wife Clytemnestra. Now in response to this, Electra, along with her brother, killed her mother to avenge their father. Now for Hysilens, it may be somewhat related to the Greek god Silenos, who was the god of drunkenness and winemaking. Actually sounds a lot like her. Her codename is pronounced Aporia, and it refers to impassibility, difficulty, impossibility, uncertainty, doubt, anxiety, or a puzzle, among other things. Once more for her real name, Electra. And for her later nickname, Hysilens. We're down to the last 4 Chrysos Heirs on the list, and the next one is the crown prince of Kremnos, Mudemos. The second part of his name most likely originates from the ancient Greek word demos, which means terror or fear. Mu may be a contraction of Murios, which means something like numberless, countless, or infinite. Put them together and his name means something like countless terrors. His codename is pronounced Polemos, quite fittingly meaning war or battle. Once again, Mudemos. Now we have the blazing sun destined to rise, Painon. It's derived from the verb paino, which means to shine. Painon is essentially the agent form of this verb, and it means the one who shines, or the shiner. Interestingly, it was also a name for the planet Saturn. His codename is pronounced Nekos, referring to a quarrel, wrangle, battle, or strife. Obviously, his real name Kaslana is not actually a Greek word and is instead a reference to Kevin Kaslana from Honkai Impact 3rd, the character he is based on. Once more, Painon. Important thing to note here is that the letter P or P, more commonly commonly pronounced as Phi, is not actually pronounced like an F sound, but an aspirated P sound. So yes, his name in ancient Greek is actually closer to Painon. Second to the last is the original Chrysos Heir of the earth, Terra Vox. As we discussed earlier with Danheng, Terra is the Latin word for earth. Likewise, Vox is the Latin word for voice. Note that the letter V in Latin is pronounced like a W. The V sound, or the voice labial dental fricative, didn't actually exist in Latin. Putting that together, his name would mean something like voice of the earth. Once more, Terra Vox. Finally, we have Tribios. The first part of her name, Tri, means three. Bios means life. Therefore, we can translate this name as 3 lives. Well, that was easy. Her code name is pronounced Haplotes, meaning simplicity, sincerity, or purity of mind. And there we have it. If you like videos like this, definitely leave a like and hit the subscribe button. I'll be seeing you soon.